exist. And then I started talking on TV with Geraldine Doog's approval about the importance in the church for what I would call adult faith development. I think it's very important that we don't have 5-year-old. Those of us who are my age, younger or older, we need to have the God image constantly updated so that we don't carry around in our heads idolatrous images of God, and then start railing at those images as if that is what is called for. You know, Ernest Hemingway said famously, all thinking people are atheists. Well, yes and no. You know, all thinking people perhaps will challenge a prevailing image of God, but I don't think all thinking people are atheists. I'll just finish by talking about a very brief conversation I had yesterday with a cab driver. I like talking to cab drivers if they talk back to you. Sometimes they're a surly bunch and they're more interested in poking those things in front of them and getting the next job. But I said to him, he was a Sikh with a turban. A lot of cab drivers are Sikhs from India. And I said to him, what do you think of Australia? He said, oh, I find it a very odd country. He said, most people aren't religious. And he said, those few people who are religious generally keep quiet about it. And I said, oh. And I said, what do you think about India? He said, oh, we're the reverse of Australia. He said, I'd say at least 90% of Indians are religious and 10% aren't. And I said to him, because being an academic in university, I thought, I bet those 10% are university professors. And I said, are they highly educated? He said, oh, no, the highly educated are religious. He said, it's the young people who aren't very religious. And I said to him, why aren't they religious? He said, well, they're trying to become Westerners. They're trying to be like you in Australia. They're trying to throw out God. God is dead. They're trying to live for the now, for their bank accounts, for their development, etc., etc. And I said, do you think those young people will stay non-religious? He said, no. And then he said to me, and I thought, wow, I wish I had sometimes these conversations you have with people are priceless. I wish I'd had a tape recorder. He said, they will become religious when they start thinking deeply. And by the time they're our age, he said to me, because he was about my age, they will be religious again. So there will always be 10% of India that remains non-religious, but that 10% won't be the same 10% that is not religious decades on. And I said, well, what do you think of the situation here? He said, 90% of Australians aren't religious and 10% are, and they keep quiet about it. So I found that a very interesting discussion. One of the things I've noticed from teaching spirituality when I used to teach at the university is that those hundreds of students who come to my classes are often the ones who have suffered. They've had teenage depression. They've had parents breaking up. They've had a brother who's on heroin or a sister who's overdosed on ice or one of these, so-called party drugs like ecstasy. Or they've had difficulties in their life. They've had panic attacks. They've had anxiety disorders. And I only noticed this toward the end of my teaching in this course, the number of people who'd come to the spirituality course partly because they'd found spirit or God, although they don't always call spirit God the way I do. So I had to go easy on my God language with them, otherwise they'd run out the room and think, my God, I'm with a religious nutter, and they'd literally run away from me. So I had to be very careful about that. And I felt that those people had thought deeply before their time. A lot of these kids I teach are only 18. But if they'd had a brush with depression, or perhaps they'd had suicidal thoughts, as more and more young people do in our society, because I think it's so hollow, then they actually have arrived at a deeper position. And this morning at breakfast, where's Elaine? Is Elaine there? Oh, at the back. Hi, Elaine. We said over munching our muesli, you don't need God until you're desperate. I thought that was a very interesting comment. Perhaps not enough Australians are desperate. We are, after all, the lucky country, although I think we're running out of luck in many respects. And I don't wish bad luck on Australia, because I love our country and I love our level of standard of living. But I do think the standard of living comes at a cost. And the cost is that we take things for granted and we don't break through to the divine. We don't break through to what is called in the Old Testament the everlasting arms that are bearing us up. And those of us who have had a brush with one of the things I mentioned earlier often do find that God is present for them